Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R.Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 23rd, 2021 at roughly 7:30 p.m. PST. I'm doing this a little differently today as far as timing goes, but thank you for joining me. I've got a lot going on, and I may, if you hear the phone ring, because this is a live broadcast, I don't edit anything. So if you hear a phone ring in the background, you can bet I'm going to hit pause on this thing, and then I'll come back to you once the call is done. So I don't know how long this is going to take me, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, it really is time for everybody out there to work together. And when I'm talking about everybody, I mean every single denizen of this planet. Doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what nationality, what gender, what species. Everybody has to start working on this planet together, or we're going to continue in the tailspin that we've been in. Now, don't want those on. The reality is, I get told, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was told this idea of getting people to actually start communicating, start working with each other, isn't going to work. People are never going to do it. Well, let's be clear about something. If you go back over history, there's a lot of things that would never be accomplished. People would never be the Scottish clans from way back, and we're talking hundreds of years ago, would never unify. The United States would never become a country. The UN would never work. Mankind would never fly. Okay. There's a lot of things that would never happen. I mean, we can look at the idea of we will never be able to reattach missing limbs. Okay. The medical society of the world has done some remarkable work. Okay. And there are people out there that have done incredible work. The reality is, when we start working together, scrap which religion you follow, which spiritual guideline you follow, and look at one little factor. Are you treating people the way you desire to be treated? Are you being true to you? Are you being a decent individual? Okay, you cannot control how anybody else behaves, and you certainly cannot legislate common sense, nor can you legislate decency. Okay, so the reality is we have to take responsibility for our own actions, for our own thought processes. You cannot control the way somebody else thinks, nor can you control the way what they do. But you can control how you respond to the above scenarios. And that's where the real catch is. See, I take my glasses off and I can't see far enough to find out what time I'm looking at. Okay, boy, that felt longer. Anyway, I'm gambling that I'm going to get through this in one shot without putting this on pause. However, we'll find out how that works. That being said, I do hope that we get a thumbs up from you. Thumbs up with regards to the video. Subscribe to the channel to get the extra information out that's coming, because there's a lot of information coming out, and the journey that we've been on started off with me getting my own life organized, and now has expanded into a much bigger issue. The side effect of what happens when you get your life organized. When you eliminate the negative things in your life, you start to take responsibility for your own actions, and you start to participate in this idea of working with others, okay, to get ahead. Because I'll tell you, it is so much easier to do work, to do anything, a project, a hobby, doesn't matter. It's so much easier to do it if you're not ducking bullets. And with so many, I like the way Robin Williams decades ago put it. Used to be a phenomenal comedian, and then he up and died. Okay, that said, that was a little cold. But he made a comment one day that was brilliant. He goes, there are thousands of plans for peace and no action. Okay, well, it wasn't entirely correct. There's a lot of people out there that are striving to generate peaceful environments. It's time we all work together to make that happen. Okay, And that's done by simply being nice to your neighbor. Get to know who your neighbor is. Get to know who the people around you are. And a simple smile, a simple hello can work wonders in opening those doors. Okay, so think of it this way. If we work together, we all start being nice to each other. And I know that's asking a lot for some people, because if you're anything like me, you've gotten really cynical about some people, about a lot of people. Oh, very happy to report. I told you I had a medical report, a doctor's appointment I had to go to. Turns out I'm on the right track. I've got the medication I require. I've got the exercise and what have you, and the diet changes that I'm already implementing. And most importantly of all, from my standpoint, is I've already brought my blood pressure down by 30 points, which is not bad for a 2-week run. Doctor was certainly happy with it. Okay, but again, this was simply an issue of I'm not content with the way my life has been, so I'm making the changes I require. Okay, and I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. Take responsibility for your own world. Start eliminating the things that you're not content with. When you've done that, all you'll be left with is the part of your world that you're content with. And if you're content with your world and the person next to you is content with their world, etc., etc., you see how this can grow to a massive situation? So much better than you being upset and the neighbor being upset and everybody shooting at each other. The reality is, superior firepower has never brought peace. It brings quiet, but it certainly doesn't bring peace. Okay. I was talking to somebody today that told me flat out they were dealing with psychologists that just didn't get them. Right. And unfortunately, there's a lot of psychologists that don't seem to understand. Now, this is just my personal opinion, but they don't seem to understand what makes people think. And I realize they're educated. But unfortunately, what they're being taught doesn't seem to be having as big an impact as most people would like to see. Now, if you're having trouble, the reality is this. It didn't take you a day to get into the mess you're in. It's going to take you some time to turn your thinking around. Okay, the trick is, the real catch to it is this. In order to get your life turned around, 1, you've got to have a purpose. What are you aiming at doing? It can be a small goal, it can be a big goal, but once you've got a purpose, then you require a plan to go about making it happen. In the event that you actually don't know how to make your plan come to light, okay, talk to somebody that has done it successfully. If your plan is to become a millionaire, talking to somebody that is not a millionaire won't help you much in the long run. However, talking to them about what they did works like a charm. Now, I have no doubt in my heart I will end up becoming a millionaire as a side effect of what I'm working on. But at this point, I simply have the path. I pulled out of a nosedive. Now I'm starting to look at things shifting gears. Okay, and that's taking time. I mean, let's face it. It took me over 47 years to get into the mess I'm in. However, in the last 3 months, I have managed to get debt-free. I've got food in my house. Right, I've got all my utilities all bought and paid for, so they're good. So I'm sitting in pretty good shape in my eyes. To me, this is success. I don't know what success is to your end. Okay, from your perspective. That's for you to determine. But what I do know is once you get it straight in your own head what you're looking for, what you feel means success, okay, I know that that will feel so much better for you. One thing I have found, because of the fact that I work with energy, okay, and I pay attention to the way energy flows, when you get your house laid out properly or your office, the neater it is, the easier the energy will flow and the more prosperous you'll become. Okay, these are just natural side effects. It's like, if you walk into the water, you're going to get wet. If you jump off the dock, you get wet a lot faster. This is just the way it happens. Of course, that assumes that the tide is in. If you jump off the dock and it's low tide, you may land on ground. Not enjoyable. Make sure you look first. But get things organized, and when we start looking at the spiritual side of things, whether we're talking mainstream religion or what people are calling the old ways or ancient religions, what they call now New Age, is a heck of a sight older than the current stuff. But it doesn't matter what gathering you go to. Doesn't matter at all. Okay. What matters is whether or not you work together, whether you're working in love, in cooperation, or is the person that's standing at the front of the gathering standing there telling you, fear this, fear that, right? Give me all your material stuff because you don't need it, but give it to me. Now, realistically, if somebody's telling you, give them all of your material belongings because you don't need them, you really got to wonder what they're going to do with them. See, in my case, when I take a look at stuff that I've got that I no longer desire, I don't give it, what I do is I go, I don't desire it, so I find somebody else that has a use for it. Right? Because from my standpoint, if I'm done with it, if I can avoid turning it over to a store to resell, I could technically sell it. But the reality is, from that side of it, there are people out there that are lacking. I mentioned in one of my earlier interviews, one of my earlier broadcasts, I mentioned that I had just given away I think it was about an 18-month-old recliner. It was still in great shape. I didn't sell the thing. I just turned around and gave it to somebody because they needed it. I did the same thing with, as near as I could gather, about $500 worth of tools that I will never use. I know this because they were given to me as a gift 10 years ago, and I never even opened the package. Now, if you've got stuff around your house that you haven't been into for a year, the odds are you don't really require it. Okay, I mean, if you think about it, Christmas decorations, if you're one of these people that celebrate Christmas, I know I do. Actually, I think this year I'm probably going to do something with this room, just on the off chance I decide that that's a good idea. But Christmas decorations or whatever holiday decorations you have, they get used once a year. Don't throw them out. Okay, unless you've had enough of them. Okay, I got a kick out of my doctor because of the amount of coffee I drink. I explained to her how much it was going through and what my coffee mix is like. She flat out told me I'm basically drinking flavored water, but because of the low amount of coffee, right, that it really wasn't doing any damage to me. As a matter of fact, it was sort of helping because it was putting the water into my system. Well, a little warming here today. Working together, we can actually turn this world back into a much more enjoyable world. Much more enjoyable for everybody. Okay, and the trick to it all, when you think about it, is if you treat everybody equally, regardless of what walk of life they come from, regardless of their station, if you treat them the way you desire to be treated, you'll find that your life goes by a lot more smoothly. Now, don't make the mistake of thinking that means it'll be perfect. Because I know from my standpoint, even though I get along with a lot of people, okay, I became reclusive a long time ago. Like about 10 years before COVID got here, I decided I didn't want to be out and about with people, so I developed a lifestyle that leaves me hidden from the world. However, if you're looking to make contact with me, there is a list of contact numbers below this video. Well, contact points. Things like email, Skype, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Just look down below. You'll find those. You'll also find a list of different publications that I've actually done that are up for grabs. Okay, but you can only order them through me at this point. I'm actually going to be adding a brand new one to the bottom, which has been out for a while, and I just haven't done anything with it until now. So if you've looked at the list before, I'm about to add and I don't think, nope, I don't. I do have a children's book coming out called Mr. Dreamcatcher. Already done, easy to order. Again, you can only get it through me. Okay, primarily because, well, I'm the only one who carries it. But the way I look at it, if you've got a dream out there, and this is the real kicker to making your life your life. If you've got a dream, a goal, something you would like to see happen, set your sights on it and do not give up. When I started writing, I had this dream of becoming a published author. Well, I'm now published in 5 different genres: science fiction, science fantasy, depending on who you talk to, reference, self-help, poetry, and children. Okay, the two genres I don't touch, and 3 genres I don't touch, is I don't touch fiction, or nonfiction rather, sorry. I don't touch nonfiction, aside from stuff about me, but I don't touch romance, and I don't touch horror. Okay, because in my eyes, those are just not my strong suit. Okay, but when you've got a goal, when you've got a dream, don't let anybody tell you that a dream can't pay off. I know a lot of people that go, I really want to be a musician. Well, that's great. And then people go and look at them and go, oh, you can't become a musician. There's no money in that. Take a look at the Rolling Stones. Take a look at Dolly Parton now. Yes, these are superstars. But there's a staggering number of people out there making money, singing their hearts out, or playing instruments. Okay, do not let somebody tell you that a dream is impossible. If you don't know how to get to something, and you've got a dream that you would like to make happen, absolutely drop me a line. I will be more than happy to point you in the right direction. Okay, I've been doing that sort of thing for 45 years now. Okay, where I've been talking to people personally, actually 48 years, my apologies. Where I've been talking to them, on personal issues, on business relations, on business interaction. Now, the fact I'm not a millionaire is strictly because of one little detail. I just frankly didn't care. Money was not my driving factor. Never has been. I do feel that with the contracts I'm working on recently, and the way that my business is starting to move and my viewpoint is starting to move, it will not surprise me to see my income climb to that level. But I'm not expecting that this year. But the thing I keep looking at, although that would be nice, I keep looking at one individual in particular, Colonel Sanders. My understanding is that he did not open his first chicken stand until he was 65. 4 months later, he closed the doors because people wouldn't do it his way. A month after that, he reopened them, hired a brand new staff. I don't know if he changed the name or what the story was there. Okay, what I do know is today he happens to be a household name. Bill Gates, is another prime example of somebody that started off with nothing, took an idea, and turned it into an empire. You have exactly the same capacity. The question is, do you have the drive? Okay, and that's the thing that I cannot answer for you. I can ask you a few questions that may point you in the direction to determine if you've got the drive. But it's up to you to determine whether or not that is what you desire. I love the way it was put to me one day regarding being an entrepreneur. It was put to me that an entrepreneur is somebody that is willing to work 16 hours a day for themselves in order to avoid working 8 hours a day for somebody else. Okay, I was talking to somebody just the other day, just 2 days ago, I guess. Okay, that when they built their website, okay, they literally listed it as multiple stores. Okay, they put the business name stores. Now understand, they've only got one store right now. But that right there told me that they are aiming at going a lot bigger. Okay, and that's what is important on your end. If you've got a dream, Doesn't matter how big it is. It was always told to me, shoot for the stars. Even if you don't get there, you're likely to at least get to the moon, and it's still off the planet. The idea of the sky is the limit just doesn't work. Okay, now understand, I'm an odd example anyway. But I took my blood pressure and dropped it 30 points in under 2 weeks. Okay, and that was simply because I went, I'm doing some pretty stupid things. Now that I know what they are, I'm going to eliminate those stupid things and get my health back on track. The idea here is that I'm going to be able to have a healthy, longer life. Okay, now I've already tried the dead thing. Didn't work out that well for me. I'll tell you, it's funny your neck over there. I don't fear death. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, do understand, I also do not have a death wish. Okay, my dream, in a sense, is to get everybody in the world, on, in, around, everybody working together. Yes, it's a massive goal. Yes, it is a huge dream. Yes, it may seem impossible, but I like the other idea. I'm possible. Okay. Now, I don't see a problem with it aside from the length of time and the fact it relies on you guys putting your heads together, taking each other's hand and saying, let's work together to make this a better world. Okay, I was driving down the road the other day, just today I think, and I saw groups of people walking down the street. Now, this was a secondary road, but it was groups of people walking down the street picking up garbage. I have no idea who these people were. I was driving and didn't have the wherewithal to stop at the time, much less the time. But working together, they were cleaning up the litter on this one street. Now, if everybody were to do their part, we could remove the litter and get it contained where it belongs. And yes, we do have wind and that sort of thing, so clearly, even putting all the garbage into a dump, into one place, some is going to get around. Okay, because we haven't developed fusion reaction as far as I'm aware yet. I think they're on the verge of it, but that's another issue. Okay, but if we work together, these huge jobs of getting things organized will be attainable. But it's up to you to stand up and say, I'm not happy with the world in the state it's in anymore. I'm going to do my part. Now, your part is simple. Take responsibility for your own actions. Make certain that when you say something, if you give somebody your word, you back it up by following through with whatever you tell them. Okay. Now, I do encourage you, some people take that the funny way. I'm referring to when you tell somebody something positive, you say, I'm going to do this. Absolutely do it. If your temper has gotten ahead of you and you lash out in anger, don't follow through with the stuff that you said as far as revenge or retaliation. Revenge and retaliation do not end well for anybody. Okay. I mean, I was asked by one person because they asked for help. And I went, absolutely, here you go. And they went, well, we don't want to feel like we're using you. And like we told them, look, we have always tried to help people when we've had a little bit of extra money. But the reality is we haven't had a lot of money. Now I'm in a position where if somebody's in trouble, I can actually help them. Okay, I'm actually able to help them without, I did anyway, but now it doesn't cause any stress to my finances. I just keep an eye on them and go, that works. I've got the money, let's deal with that right now. And carry on. Okay, very important little factor from my standpoint. Yes, it is absolutely the responsibility of everybody that has a little bit extra, that has the know-how, to help the people that don't have it. But that said, the people that are getting help have a responsibility to do the exact same thing. And as the saying, I saw a show one day, I think it was called Paying Forward, that said it all. If somebody helps you, turn around and help somebody else. Okay, it's the best way you can pay somebody back. Especially if the person says, I don't want any money, this is just because I can. Right? absolutely, the next person that comes along that you get the opportunity to help, do so. Okay, if you meet somebody that's a little lost, and that was the point where I said, I'm putting this on pause. I'll be back shortly. Well, we're back. Like we said, phone rings, we have to answer it. This is just done at a really weird time for me, so I figured, what the heck. Now, that said, like I said, if you've got the opportunity to help somebody, do so, regardless of what walk of life they're from. Because the reality is, when natural disasters hit, when pandemics hit, anything like that, okay, or accidents happen, people don't stop and go, well, who did you vote for, before they pull you out of a wreckage, or before they put the fire out. Okay, at least I hope they don't. Okay, people don't care, and they really don't. When there's an emergency, people don't pay much attention to who you voted for, what skin color you are, usually. Now, there are people that do. Okay, there's always exceptions to the rule. But how about if we treat the state of the world as a global problem, beyond just the pandemic of COVID? Let's look at the conflict, the stress, the fighting going on, and call that the global problem. We'll call that the natural disaster. And people start working towards eliminating it. Okay, I've seen some pretty horrendous things over my lifetime. And even worse over my lifetimes, but then I remember past lives. I've got a lot of mine documented. But when it comes to the way your life is going right now, I mentioned a while ago, and I'm hoping you have taken the time to look at your life and go, what am I not content with? And start eliminating those things. Because as you get rid of the things you're not content with, you'll find that you are only left with parts of your life that you're happy about. Okay, reach out to the people around you. And don't get me wrong, COVID says keep your social distance, which makes sense. Okay, I still encourage you to do that, but voices carry further than 6 feet. Okay, you don't have to agree with the laws that are being passed, but they are fortunately passing the laws and trying to enforce them on everybody. Okay, they're not asking you, and they're not saying, if you're of this religion, you don't have to wear a mask. Or if you've got this income bracket, you don't have to wear a mask. They're just saying, blanket across the board, if you're breathing, wear a mask when you're out in public. Okay, I mean, it's not a real big issue. Like, it's not a big compromise, but it's one of the few times I've seen in modern days where the governing bodies have gone, take away everything else if you're breathing and you're out in public. Whoop, and that means we're going to hold that. Okay, and now we see what happens. Phone calls happen. This is the one time in my memory of this lifetime that governments around the world have gone, we're not looking at what social class you are. If you are breathing, this is what you need to do. Okay, now if people actually quit worrying about whether or not it infringes on their rights, I know of a lot of people that have gone, well, that's taking away my freedom of choice. Well, yes, it is. But I know a lot of people have done that they went, I'm not going to do that, and they ended up dying because of it. Which, granted, was their choice. But it does seem to be a little ill thought out. Okay, now, I will tell you, when we take a look at the overall picture, laws are necessary, but they've got to apply to everybody, or they won't hold. Okay, now, we're going to bring this to a close. That didn't go too terribly badly. Okay, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and if you're striving to get a hold of me, there's a lot of contact points below the video that you can get to. Reach out to me if you've got a question or if you've got a topic you'd like me to take a look at. I'll be more than happy to connect. And again, where it comes to the UFO and the alien side of it, the first Friday of every month, from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. PST, I am on the internet on Spaced Out Radio, okay, with R.Keith Andrews at the ET Connection. Anyway, I'm going to take off here, and I will catch up with you again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.